Dr. Rebecca Carley is a medical doctor, a surgeon by trade. Her son got vaccine damage. She began to investigate it, and I think some of her research is some of the best I've seen out there because I've done a lot of this research myself from mainline government sources that aren't publicized but are public. They're there, they're not widely put out, and so her stuff just clicks. And so I wanted reintroduce what happened, what broke last week, what happened a few months ago, why it's so serious, and then let's get into the big picture, Doctor. I really appreciate you coming on today.
And I appreciate the opportunity. And before we get into that, I was listening to your show earlier talking about the Alabama shooter. I totally agree with you that he was most likely on Prozac or some other psychotropic med.
Well, it's coming out the German was under psychiatric care, so he's guaranteed on it, but go ahead.
Right. I just want to bring out the fact that vaccinations can also cause violent behavior. There's an excellent book entitled Vaccination, Social Violence, and Criminality by Harris Coulter, which the listeners can obtain from thinktwice.com. And there's certain areas of the brain that, in fact, lead you to become violent. I have in front of me a book published by NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, called The Biology of Aggression, which is, it's over 600 pages long. They're actually researching to see what areas of the brain they can affect to make people violent, and they're using rabies virus to do so. Yes,
now, Doctor, I've read the major university and medical facility reports, but for those that don't know why it causes it or the brain damage, normally it is a autoimmune response, massive brain swelling, and as we all know, brain damage is associated with violent outburst and a loss of impulse control. And, of course, there's other chemical reasons it does it, but is that not basically the main reason?
Yes, that's completely correct. Once you get injected with viruses, if they go to your brain, they cause vaccine-induced encephalitis, and depending on what part of the brain is damaged will determine what symptoms you have. The parts of the brain that control behavior and make you violent are primarily the limbic system, especially the amygdala, which is near the ear.
And by the way, Dr. Russell Blaylock, who is a top brain surgeon, even invented some famous brain procedures, one of the top guys in the world, he discovered all this in his practice, okay, how vaccines literally attack the brain. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. This has been known for years. But the point I want to make is that the scientists are actually researching how to make people violent. This is something that they want to have happen. I encourage all the listeners to watch the movie recently released on DVD entitled Quarantine, which actually shows them experimenting with rabies and making the people become basically ghouls. So this is more evil than you can even imagine.
Absolutely. Stay there. Back in 70 seconds. Dr. Rebecca Carley, give out your website and a lot more, and then I'm just going to try to control myself. I just want to back up everything you're saying because I know it's true. Then let's just walk through the vaccine history, what we're dealing with, how devastating this bird flu situation being, well, they were trying to mix it with vaccines, could have been over in Europe and 18 nations. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen, and the evil ones are amongst us. Here on the planet, it is up to the good people to stand up against the New World Order. Dr. Rebecca Carley, medical doctor, surgeon by training, is our guest. Okay, try to give us as much info packed in as you can because I know it's just incredible knowledge you have. And first off, fire out your website for folks that want to see all this footnoted and documented.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's the www.drcarley.com. That's drcarley.com. I encourage the listeners to sign up for the updates on my site. I send out important information on a regular basis. There's so much information there, but my paper, Inoculations, the True Weapons of Mass Destruction, explains how the vaccines corrupt the immune system, because a very important point that people need to know, it's not just the infections that they're causing. The injection of the viruses directly into your bloodstream, bypassing the upper respiratory and GI tracts, actually causes your immune system to turn on yourself. So therefore, all autoimmune diseases, non-traumatic seizures, cancer, and genetic damage is caused by vaccines. And this is proven in a recent article on my site entitled The Science of Vaccine Damage, which is research done by non-pharma-funded veterinarians that have proven that the vaccines, once they create antibodies, can attack any part of your body. So this is the biggest epidemic the world has ever known, vaccine-induced diseases. I also encourage the listeners to read my response to the CDC's Public Health Protection Guide, because in that document I actually document how in my own medical books, you see, Alex, I'm sure you know, the medical doctors are totally sleep-deprived, brainwashed, and nutritionally deprived. You go in there like a zombie and you just regurgitate out what they tell you. You don't actually let it into your consciousness and critically evaluate it. But in my book, Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine, the 6th edition, on page 943, I actually found the following quote: "Rarely is prevention of infection considered to be an important goal of vaccination. In fact, asymptomatic infection can serve to enhance and prolong the immune response." Rarely is prevention of infection considered to be an important goal of vaccination. In fact, asymptomatic infection can serve to enhance and prolong the immune response. What that means is that once they're injected directly into your bloodstream, you're not able to push these viruses out. They remain in your body, they mutate, they cause all kinds of havoc, they recombine with other viruses, and that brings us into the Baxter situation, where this company released the flu vaccine that was mysteriously contaminated with the H5N1 bird flu virus. And I want to just mention that the smoking gun in this case was contained in an article written by Helen Branswell of the Canadian Press on February 27th, where she actually states that this company, Baxter, where they had this experimental virus material made at the Orthodontal Research Facility, they not only make the flu vaccine, but they also make the bird flu vaccine. And they're expecting their license shortly. So isn't it amazing, Alex, that they released this to 18 countries and they've got a vaccine for bird flu just waiting to be sold? So this is obviously what their intention was, to open this Pandora's box, and then they would step forward with the alleged cure.
Well, you know, even the Czech Republic newspapers, mainstream ones, were saying this looks like it could be staged, and saying what you just said.
There's no other explanation for it. And I want to also ask the listeners to consider, what is the difference between this and what happened with the anthrax mailings? There's no way this can't be intentional, because they have this, as I said, smoking gun where they are making a vaccine that they will sell once the bird flu is unleashed. So we had the situation where they sent anthrax in mailings, which they've sent bird flu in mailings. We called this a crime. And why isn't that a crime? These people should be persecuted and prosecuted and put in jail for unleashing this on the public, and we still don't know what's going to happen. I think we're going to start hearing about bird flu very soon.
All right, stay there. Let's talk about that when we get back. Yeah, for those that don't know, the White House was on Cipro, the anthrax-fighting antibiotic, and they own the stock, on September 10th, and that was admitted in the Associated Press. Ari Fleischer admitted the whole White House knew because they launched the attack. No, they have secret death squads that wanted to be dictators, but they wouldn't launch the anthrax, just a government. That's why I believe the enemy's going to stage terror attacks and mass shootings and a lot of other things, and start new wars, as the Rand Corporation said they want to do. I mean, they tell us what they're going to do. It's not like I'm predicting it. Like reading the TV guide. And false flag is, I don't think on the horizon. I think it's here with us now. I think they've got their finger on the button, and it says, just push the button. From him and here, just one button I push. And the New World Order is a lot more nasty, secretive globalist than Dick Cheney running around with secret hit squads and the rest of it, like we covered last hour. It's just so important what we're dealing with. You know, Dr. Rebecca Carley, when you were on with me briefly for 30 minutes last week, you said, oh, what about this article with all the homeless dying from shots in Europe for bird flu, and it kills them, and investigations? And what about this and that? And I was pulling up everything you were saying. It was all mainstream news. I hadn't seen it. I didn't know. And they keep hyping, bird flu, it's going to get you. Billions will die, bird flu. Give up all your rights, bird flu. What do you see happening here? Please continue.
Well, as I said, I think the horse is already out of the barn. All of these people that were exposed to this mailing from Baxter have already been exposed to the bird flu, and we don't know how many people are incubating it right now as we speak and are going to end up coming out with the bird flu. And it's truly chilling. Let's see.
Well, let me stop you. I mean, that's quite an announcement, but people are already dying in cases all over the world, and in the London Telegraph and other places, they'll never say. It'll say authorities in Poland with the 23 dead from the 360 given it at one homeless clinic. The homeless clinic says they were misled by pharmacological companies that it was regular flu vaccine. but they were paid to tell the homeless that it was just regular and then it killed them. And people are dying. And then they also are reporting on this HPV live cancer virus, saying it could mutate. They're admitting on CBS News it's killing people.